Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 304, and today we're doing battle with Teemo Zoe Elusives. And so, the mid-rangey Elusives deck, it's a pretty interesting space to me. This is a deck that was at its peak around November of 2022. It was right before Worlds came out, when Riot decided that the cards needed a nerf. And the only nerf that this deck saw was going to be to Sudden Surge. And so it used to grow an ally to 5/5, now it only grows it to 4/4. And so that's it. That's the kind of end of the things that happened with this deck. Worlds came, it fell completely off the face of the earth. No one was playing Elusives. Maybe one or two players at Worlds decided to bring it, and it hasn't really made an impact since. And so a couple of balance patches have come and gone. I was looking through Legna's site at LLORR-stats.com. And Teemo Zoe is a deck that's back on the rise. This is one that has a pretty strong win rate, and it's starting to make an appearance again. And it's kind of an interesting situation to me, right? The Sudden Surge nerf shouldn't have been enough to remove this deck from the game. It certainly mattered at Worlds if you're coming into a format that's really heavy with Kayn and having your Sudden Surge no longer allow your unit to survive a Kayn strike. That's a pretty big deal. But outside of that singular matchup, it doesn't seem like this deck should have really gone anywhere. And then we again just completely saw it completely fall away. It's nowhere around. And so I'm curious if a couple of different things are what's at stake with Teemo Zoe, right? Because we're not just talking about some kind of like tier 2 deck that made a splash for a week. This was the kind of best deck in the format, and it just completely disappeared. And so is it a matter of people really just started to figure out the good decks? You got your champion strength paths, you had your Aatrox Canes, Vayne had to get nerfed like 100 times. Like, were all those cards just so much better than Teemo Zoe? That they really just dwarfed what was happening, or has it been good all along and no one was really just playing it? And so I'm kind of curious. I don't have the answer to that. Again, like if you can see the changes to Aatrox, you see the changes to Kayn, those have been pretty heavy nerfs and they've pretty much disappeared. But just Sudden Surge, that was it. And so it was pretty interesting to me that this has been gone. But again, now it's on the rise. This is a deck that it wants to be in this kind of middle space of the meta. If you caught our previous video where we were playing Zoe Braum, that's a kind of deck to where it just gets completely annihilated by things like pirates. On the slow end of the spectrum, it gets completely annihilated by things like Feel the Rush and things like Annie Ezreal. But that middle ground, mid-rangey kind of space, it's where it really gets to compete and really has a lot of strength. And that's what we really see out of Teemo Zoe as well. It's not fast enough to outrace pirates. It's still going to get completely obliterated by things like Annie Ezreal. But if you want to put this up against something like KO Leona, right? KO Leona is the kind of #1 deck in the format right now. It is really able to shine. Your opponent doesn't have enough interactivity to stop what you're doing. They can't interact with your game plan of really boosting up these elusives. Their virtual card advantage paths of blocking with Sun Guardians or whatnot gets completely removed, and you're able to sneak in those victories. And so as we have this meta kind of come together where there's these fairly unit-based interactive decks to where we're saying things like Leona Kale, we're looking at things like Nora, we're looking at things like the Fairy Tristana-based decks, the Teemo Zoe really has the kind of space to where it can come in and shine. And so I was wanting to, kind of bring it back to today. Again, this is a deck that's kind of one of the risers of the format right now, at least on the LOR Master site. You can see that it's sitting at about a 56% win rate across 1,000 games, and that's a pretty decent space to be, but it's only currently 0.5% of the meta. And so we'll see how it feels. We'll put the tip in and see what it feels like. Get some games in here. See if we can't get some wins, get some losses. See if we can't get some opinions on what's happening here. In terms of the deck itself, I like playing all of the elusives, and so we have the Flight, the Shadestalker, Bandle Commando, and Esmuth. The utility units in Bird and Wandering Shepherd are fine. Where you see a lot of differences, though, comes to the interactivity suite. Pretty much everybody agrees on Sudden Surge and Pokestick, but the remaining interactive spells are kind of up in the air. And so we're going with the Heroic Frayne, the Wallops, and the Battle Bonds. We aren't playing any Pale Cascades. We're not playing Stand Together. Stand Together is the flip of Heroic or Frayne where you give +1/+2. I think that this is a a reasonably interactive set to where we're not going all in on a singular unit, but we're kind of going all in on 2 units between the Battle Bonds and the Heroic Refrain. I think that leaves us in a decent space, and I do like the interactivity that we get out of Wallop. A single Wallop can essentially be like a time walk, if you're familiar with Magic parlance, as to where if your opponent's coming at you with a big singular unit, if they're coming at you with a Leona or something, and you get that single Wallop on their mighted unit, that just buys you so much time for your elusives to carry through on an additional turn. And so it's a very powerful card in the matchups we're looking to be good against. And so that's the deck. That's what we'll be doing Battle with today. We're paying on account number 2. Not technically paying the pay-to-win price today. I don't like to pay it on this account, but I've been trying to step my emote game up a little bit. I felt like we've gotten into some games here recently on this account and just can't express myself in the way that I want. And so I picked up the Heartbreaker Ari. I picked up the pointy finger Echo, and that makes me feel a little bit better about this space that we're in, right? We got the Heartbreaker Ari, the pointy finger Echo. That gives us a little bit better, a little more of the things I like to see. And so with this, we'll hang on to Bird. I'm going to try and find an elusive. I don't really want to hang on to Wandering Shepherd. It's a little bit too slow. Like if we have Teemo or Zoe, then maybe, but not when we're starting off with Bird. And we need just another early game play, another early game something to do. And so, interesting stuff up against Braum Nora. That was a deck that we mentioned earlier in the sense that it's a deck that's very good against the really mid-rangey decks of the format. And so we're both kind of trying to attack similar opponents. But I think we have a potential for an edge here in the sense that if neither of us are going to be interacting, he can't block when we attack, right? I know he can block the Bird the Bellringer, but he can't block our Esmuth, he can't block our Shadestalker, to where when he's coming at us with some bigger units, we have the opportunities to get kills onto his. So I think that leaves us in a pretty interesting and strong space to where we can interact to where he can't. But reasonable curve here. We drew pretty nicely in this one. We can get Bird going. We can get the elusive Shadestalker here. We could play Esmuth next turn and then still look to Sudden Surge at some point. I'll go ahead and just take the trade here with the Teamaker. Our +1/+1 didn't fall too nicely with Bird, but we did get the other one onto Esmuth. Now let's send all of our non-interactive friends right into battle. Get that. 2/4 Esmuth ready to party. Oh. Is this how we want to go? It's a bit unfortunate, like dropping Sudden Surges just to take down a Nora, but we our Esmuth in a space to where it can get a takedown onto her. That was my bad as well. We got the Sudden Surge, but we haven't equipped anything this game. Come on. We got a kitty wanting to hang out. Let's go, Pepper. She'll figure it out eventually. And ooh, what a choice draw. Opponent hit a pretty nice spike, right? He got a Crimson Curator, which is a good unit, along with an actual elusive, which is fairly awkward for us. But we did hit Wandering Shepherd with all those chimes out of our no-unit hand, and also letting it get a... Holy shit, you just hit a Stalking Wolf as well? Ooh, okay. That's nasty. Nasty, my dude. Oh gosh, there we go. Ooh, I wasn't paying attention and she jumped up here. That's a immediate sign that you're about to get clawed. Say what up, internet? How you doing? Lovely, lovely kitty coming out here today. So how do we feel about this? This is an awkward attack with the wily Newtfish. Like, I mean, we have a safe block on it. We can ignore the Curator. I don't care about it. But do we want to Sudden Surge through this Esmuth? I don't really want to lose it. I mean, I would suspect in this space, like, if opponent's going to have tricks, it's either going to be a Troll Chant or a follow-up Pokestick. And so I don't think I'm too worried here. Wasn't expecting it to just end. Didn't think that was going to be the space. See if he brings the Pokestick onto Esmuth. Oh, wow. Okay, no complaints here. Then we still have the 8 mana to do both Wandering Shepherd and Wandering Shepherd and Battle Bonds. We're not going to get a lethal this turn. We're nowhere near that, but we're cruising. We're building up. Feels kind of nice. So I think I'm okay to lose the bird and the snow hare. I don't want to lose out on our elusives, though. And so, excuse me, as Nora gets up to 2 attack, I think we want to boost these friends. Then that will shrink, excuse me, Esmuth down to 2, but then we can reboost with our other Esmuth. Seems fine. Look at that. He's even got the combos with this Crimson Curator, right? The Curator getting a free Crimson in hand. It's like we're back in 2020 playing shitty combos with Crimson Curator. Doing shitty combos with the Curator. I feel you. I feel you. Alright, I thought we were going to need to boost this Esmuth here on the left. I forgot that it had quick attack, so it should be pretty safe. I think we're alright with how this is going. Cat's getting all up in my cables. Let's see if we can't recover. We even got Bird hanging out here in the in the middle of the screen, right between Esmuth number 2 and the Lunari Shadestalker. He says, don't get rid of me just yet, bro. The ghost of Bird hanging out. Okay. So it prevents some damage, but he's losing out on board. That's fine. Got a nice collection of width here. This should be pretty tough for them to deal with. Get you some pets. Kitty was very interested in the outside kitty. We talked about that outside kitty that came and hung out for a little bit in the previous video. I've talked extensively about how some of my cats have gotten fat, and I got them an automatic feeder, and they are like hype whenever the food comes out. Like they start swarming. They know when it's about time for the food snacks to come in. And when that other kitty was hanging out in the garage, there were like food nuggets lasting way longer than usual, and it was a real surprise seeing them skip on the dinner snacks as opposed to paying attention to that kitty that was out in the garage. And so, oh shit. Well, that would be bad under normal circumstances, but we can just outright win the game, which is pretty cool here. Yeah, she's giving up on her food nuggets to hang out with stranger kitties. Very nice. getting a lot of sniffs through the doors. All right, here we go. Get him for a solid 20. Mark it a W for bust. Yeah, she really needs pets real bad. The struggles of being a kitty. All right, GG, my friend. On to the next one. So it didn't come up to that game. What I found interesting with this is the amount of times that you're going to find the Darkened Lodestone being extremely relevant as a flip. Or not, I guess not a flip, but as the Darkened side, as the Horazi side. Just being able to give out that 7/7 spell shielded growth to an elusive is very, very powerful. And you tend to find a lot of these spaces to where you have the Lodestone on a unit, it gives out some bonuses, you trade, then you pick up Horazi, and then Horazi is the kind of extent of your late game. And it plays out kind of nicely in that way. Now here, this is interesting. We're up against Annie Jen. We are the control deck in this matchup. This is going to be about just shutting down as much of their early aggression as we can. And I don't think we want to keep Esmuth. It just doesn't do enough. I feel like on turn 2, we're going to be playing Bandle Commando. We're going to try and generate that extra Outcat. And then ideally, we could trade it away. And then on turn 3, get an Outcat, a Shadestalker, and be ready for action. As to where... if you imagine playing Esmuth here, right, it does give us some value in hand, but opponent's going to drop another unit or two on the board right now, and then we wouldn't be able to interact with those, right? Putting down a 0 attack unit doesn't sound super ideal as opponents coming at you really aggressively. And so it's okay to see him at home. Sunhawk was pretty decent here. Alright, well, we can get the flight. That works out kind of nicely, letting us get a potentially good heroic refrain. This is a space to where the +1/+2 would have been much better, but just gotta take what you can get sometimes. Alright, well, let's send in that open. I'm gonna get my little owl friend. Jen's pretty manageable here. Got the wallop in hand to get a nice shutdown on him if we want. Probably more so looking here to say put the Shadestalker in front of Tusk Speaker and then just block Jen with the Owlcat, but it's nice to have the wallop. We can actually just grow bigger than a lot of his stuff here with the other battle bonds. Making the 4/5 Shadestalker can be a real power play. Interesting. It's like, how hard is he going to come at us? I think the battle bonds is probably too aggressive. I don't want to just pass in this combat. It's like if he follows up with like the stage hand here, then we don't have enough blockers to do a nice damage prevent, and so
I am frightened, but
that looks good.
Embrace it.
Surprised he stunned our elusive one. If we're going to be coming in and blocking, you would typically want us blocking with the better one.
I go willingly.
I will give them a show to remember.
Alright, so we're going to want 2 damage. Let's see, how is this going to go? I was looking to wallop something. Guess we'd prefer to wallop Jin. You're just going to die? You're just gonna die. We'll definitely put you in front of the shade. Oh no, he's gonna kick back to the back line and just be stunned. Beautiful.
Must we fight?
So we can do this. Looks like we'll only take 3. We have the pokey stick to kill the Boom Crew rookie with. Looks good. Looks good. All right, not bad. This is not, I mean, again, like, don't get me wrong, this isn't a super strong space to be in, but it's a nice bit of a shutdown for us.
2, 3, 4. I can do this.
All right, Teemo, let's boom him. Let's boom him.
They'll never know what hit them.
We can pokey stick first. Maybe we shouldn't. This kind of like, he's got 6 mana and isn't spending it. He's probably going to Nox and Fervor or something here. I guess it's not terrible in the sense that, like, we should have done it before we attacked if we were kind of worried about Nox and Fervor, but it is very nice to have that Nox and Fervor come at a unit and not go at face. That's probably a mistake in the opponent. I'm not the most seasoned anti-gen veteran, but it strikes me as a kind of space to where you'd rather just deal the damage.
Oh, Solari fear the truth.
We're about to get boomed here, though. If he's got another stage hand, this game's done. Bringing in stuns? Jesus, this Lotus Trap has been getting us. All right. GG. That's a tough matchup, though. Again, it's if you're looking at a Legion rearguard deck, it's not really what you're looking to do battle with. You're not going to be kind of combat ready enough to get in front of their units. So it's tough. But we were in it. That's the big thing. That's the main thing. Next opponent, where are you? Where could you be, my friend? Here we go. What is this? Lysandra Trundle, but it has Ionia in it. Not entirely certain what we're getting ourselves into here. But, I mean, I think this is a reasonable enough start. We could look to get rid of one card to just try and pick up a little bit more interactivity. But I think this is okay. Like, it doesn't matter what combat trick we pick up. They're all kind of the same. Get him, bird. Ugh. The worst target. The worst target in the flight. It's okay, friend. It's okay. And so this is kind of a tough spot, right? This is the place to where if they have an avalanche, it's just going to end the game, right? We have this nice open for 7, but like the way that these decks typically function now is on turn 5, they're just being ultra greedy. Or I should say on turn 3, they're ultra greedy and then they're looking to just ramp. And so, like, if we're playing against Trundlemere, I feel like it's a fairly safe space to just be like, well, I'm going to, I'm just going to play my greedy units and attack, or play my greedy units then attack. Avalanche is only like a 2 copy. We don't have to worry about it too much, but excuse me, not knowing what random stuff this guy's doing, we'll play it a little bit more conservatively. We really want to wallop a Lysandra? Doesn't seem awesome. We can add in the flight and go for a heroic refrain, but I don't think we care. All right, well, let's see if we get avalanched. Both of our both of our bird tokens landed on the flight. It's been a bit of a joke, but that's the way the old RNG rolls sometimes.
Mama's got a gun.
But not a bad set of units here, coming in for a 6 elusive. We're setting up for a lethal with the next elusive attack with the heroic refrain. So not a terrible space to be in. Have to see what other weird shit comes out of this deck. Playing the Lysandra and the Thralls with the equipment and everything. I'm not entirely certain what we're supposed to be encountering here, but make the most of it. Now, I kind of want to get the wallop in now. I'm going to drop it onto the Dragonling. I want to be able to get our Shadestalker on board with Elusive, and we got to do something, right? We got to do something to get that on board, and that's the only card. I don't want to play the Heroic Refrain in the middle of this weird combat, so we'll get it down. The bummer of a space we're about to fall into is we were 1 point short of lethal. So now that he's added in the Blighted Ravine, we're still a point short. It's just a real bummer. Like the way that this has fallen down. Like this is when RNGesus isn't being very friendly to you, and all of your bird tokens land on the flight. Kind of is what it is. But we'll drop our bird. We're just in the space to where we have to try and win off an open attack on the following turn. I don't think we can give them the chance to be dropping things like Buried in Ice. But Hirazi, interesting addition to the squad here.
Hide no longer.
Alright, so I don't want to die to a Three Sisters. I'm going to get this extra block in. On the next turn, all we're going to be looking to do is attacking with the Darkened Lodestone with the Heroic Refrain and trying to get a big... Oh shit, we're still short in damage. But that's the way we're tackling this, right? We need Harazi to Spell Shield the Bando Commando, potentially get it enough for a win. Alright. I had high hopes for this when this dipshit started emoting way too early. And you can see how close we are with this one. It's very close to ending this nonsense with the Harazi and the Spell Shields. I don't think we have any draws to get our way out of this one now, but well, never say never when that Pokey Stick's involved. That gets us up to 9 if we draw an elusive. And I don't think we're going to be taking this one down, but you know, that's the space you need to be in.
Anyone seen any sheep around here? I lost mine.
Hi, Fam Jam. Let's get these units in the middle.
Let's talk about your dad.
It's a lethal coming in. Again, I suspect he's going to have a harsh winds or something weird here, but it's been presented.
You got a problem?
Got a problem? Yep. Okay. Whew, those are my favorite matches to win, though. Dipshit's coming out here emoting way too early. I love to come in and steal those matches away. Hopefully induce a rage quit. Nothing better than when you get to induce a rage quit from your dipshit opponent. And so we were so close to having some of that spell shielded nastiness rolling through, and I'm a little sad that we weren't able to take that one down. But GG, on to the next one. This is one I will get disappointed in if we don't take down. I never give any respect whatsoever to Yasuo. And so we gotta see if we can't take down the old Yasuo no respect style. Just come in and blow it up. All right, Zoe, it's time to shine. So opponent, like, their interactivity shouldn't be very good against us, right? If you're going to be playing Yasuo Jin, I assume that you're going to have a lot of things like Stun Bird and Stun Spider, and then things like Concussive Palm to try and get your units rolling. And you know, it's just a little bit too slow against what we're trying to bring here. It's a strategy that's good against mid-rangey stuff, but not particularly good against the strategies we're bringing. But let's see. I was kind of like wish-washing on dropping this Teemo. I wanted the kind of easier path to getting this Lunari Shadestalker on board, and I think we were okay to just Star Chart into Shadestalker if we needed to. Again, I don't think he's going to be able to kill any of our units. I don't think he should have any elusives. I think we're pretty safe here to just play our game, ignore that the opponent's even here, and just get the most elusive damage on the board as fast as we can. Nice.
Invisible to the ignorant.
All right, here they come. Bird getting a little boost.
Is a leaf's only purpose to fall?
Is a leaf's only purpose to fall. I forget how deep Yasuo is. He's bringing out the big questions everyone needs the answers to. Well, let's see. We'll throw our bird in. I'm never blocking here with an elusive, and we should be able to stop any of their combats if we need to with these wallops. There we go. That's what we were looking for.
Okay, what did you do this time?
Get in there, trickster. I'm curious if this deck plays things like the Mourned, right? The 2/1 that gets recalls. Kind of curious. The 2/1 elusive, I should say. Hell yeah! Our third +1/+1 onto the flight in 2 games. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the things you do for us. I guess it could have been more worthless if we drew a spell. I guess that would have been worse, but it's terrible having all of our stats land on this dum-dum. Recall with 3 or less health. It's like I'm eyeballing these heroic refrains. I'd love to get some of that going. Alright, well, not awesome. We're getting close to lethal for the next turn, but I don't suspect... I don't suspect we're gonna be there safely. It's just too easy for him to have another stun. But we are getting to the point you gotta be a little bit mindful of Zoe. You know, she's up to 6 different cards. She's been on the board the whole game. And so she does get these opportunities to actually flip. And I don't think it's going to happen, but potential, man. It's all about the potential. Why does he gain 2? Oh, this life-stealing Yasuo getting a strike. Alright, whatever. Have to be mindful of that next turn. Well, the lifesteal will be gone next turn. That's not an interaction I've ever come across. That's interesting. The Yasuo doing the strikes and having lifesteal. Alright, but looks like we might be done with the gruesome theaters at this point, and so hopefully we don't have to worry about that shit anymore. So we did need to preemptively play the combat trick. We were going to be a little bit short in damage. Hopefully this is just like 1 concussive palm, and then we can still win with battle bonds. It's on Zoe, on unit at the end, so we can battle bond these 2 in the middle. Get this up to 10. Needs that 3rd Steel Tempest. Doesn't have it. GG, Yasuo. No one respects you. That's the way you gotta put it out there. No one respects you, my friend. Maybe one day you won't be a garbage champion. You heard it here first. Not even a hot take, man. It's the what's less than a mid take, you know? What's less than a mid take? It's just fucking spot on. It's just pure knowledge, right? Yes, whoa, it's just garbage. You heard it here first. All right, though. On to the next one. What shenanigans will we battle next? Ooh, this has been interesting. I didn't realize the new cards were supposed to come out soon. Now, I've kind of wavered in my appreciation for the LOR report. If you're not familiar with the scene on Twitter, for whatever reason the LOR Twitter team isn't super active. They kind of go in phases as to where sometimes they'll be pretty active and saying stuff, and then they'll just kind of fall off the face of the earth for a month at a time. And I kind of suspect that it's probably just like one person, and you get sick, you go on vacation, or something like League of Legends Worlds comes about, and you just have to focus in on that. Like, I get it, it's not a big deal. And so someone in the community started to pick up some of the LOR news slack on a parody account, and then once that got a bit of traction, they switched over to being a kind of more serious account. And I feel like they've started to just start dropping in their own hot takes a little bit, and their knowledge doesn't flow quite as well. And I don't know, maybe that's a bit of an overreach on my end, but I don't like it as much as I used to. It feels like they're injecting their own opinions as so much as just delivering the news. All right, what do we got here? He's trying to avalanche. We'll say, LOL, no thank you. Let all of our units survive. We can still get Teemo on the board here as well. It's good. Looks good.
Nothing like the great outdoors.
Drop a little bit of that LOL on him, you know. Not bad, not bad. But no, the reason that that shtick was coming up was I did see that the LOR report people said that there should be the variety patch coming out in this upcoming week. I think if memory serves, Riot is supposed to do kind of a reveal stream on the 28th of February, and then on the 1st of March, we're supposed to get new cards, I think. Always an exciting time having the new stuff come out here, and so again, I'm not entirely certain on the quality of that knowledge, but hopefully it's valid. Feels like it's been a while since a set came out. There's been a bit of a lag between the World Ender and where we're at now. I guess with all the competitive changes and the Riot hack and stuff, that it's not too crazy. Now here, this is kind of an interesting space. We have this scouting spell shielded Zoe. I think it's probably worthwhile to just go ahead and send her in and not deal with a not try and deal with the scout attack first. I do worry about just a big spell coming down after the fact, whereas right now we should be pretty safe. Got Neg 4 coming into 3. GG. I'm curious what they look to bring about though, because the kind of historical way sets have gone, where they were going through the phase to where they were releasing the new factions, right? So you had the Rising Tides, that was the Bilgewater faction. You had the Call of the Mountain, that was the Targon expansion. You had the Return to Bandlewood, that was the Bandle City faction, and then the Darkened Saga, whatever we're calling this. Is it the Darkened Saga? The Darkened Saga was the first one where all of the factions were involved, and they got into this kind of thing as to where, you know, a lot of hype is built up in the release of the new cards, and so they were doing this setup to where instead of having, like, you're doing 2 sets a year, right? So last year the sets would have been Beyond the Bandlewood and then the Darkened Saga. But instead of only releasing 2 sets, they broke the sets up into 3 pieces. And so there's the Darkened Saga Awakening, the Darkened Saga, I don't know, dinner time, and then Darkened Saga bedtime to finish off the sets. And so now that the Darkened Saga is over, I'm curious if this, you know, variety set is just looking to upgrade a specific archetype. It says that they're supposed to spread out across all the factions, so I don't know if that just means it would be something like an equipment for every faction or what, but since it's in this weird space to where the variety set is coming out in between major sets instead of being in that space to where it was tied to the Darkened Saga Awakening. I'm kind of curious what we're going to get and what we're going to see out of it. It's just like, you know, here's some rando cards, or if it's going to have some more themes to it. All right. Interesting predict, though. He doesn't hit the flight, or he hits the flight, so we don't get to do the weird card draw thing. Instead of taking Zoe and taking away the star chart. Kind of surprised to see it go that way. But we also don't really have a ton to do here. We need to get some upgrades for these units pretty quick. We're kind of stuck with the battle bonds for next turn, at least as far as this hand is concerned. Now it's like if we draw a unit off of this pokey stick and play it, we can't battle bonds next turn, and so all in all, fairly awkward. But I mean, we don't really want to be battle bonding the flight. Be battle bonding that Teemo. You gotta give me a little bit of time. So how bad is a quicksand here? He gets to kill 2 of our dudes. We can technically stun out of 1. Alright. He has to be a little worried about our combat tricks. He knows that we play like 10 combat tricks in our deck. He just doesn't know that we don't have any combat tricks that we can play in our hand right now. Double Mystic Shots. About as good as we could hope for. Fine, but we'll go ahead and play the Teemo. If he comes at us with Echo next turn, we're most certainly going to wallop. So take our chance to get the physical mana units on the board.
This is my time.
All right, well, I guess this battle bond is about to come in. we can star chart and see if we hit an elusive, but if we don't hit anything off the star chart, I'm just going to battle bond this turn to spend the mana. Yeah, looks like we'll take a Crescent Strike. It's like the thing if we run into quicksand after we've dropped the battle bonds is our units shouldn't be dying in combat, right? So he drops the quicksand, he takes the attack and elusive off of Zoe and Teemo, he blocks with these dum-dums. He at least doesn't kill our units. And so that's all I'm really worried about in this space. Well, we got a lot of stuns. It's very, very strong against Echo, being able to Crescent Strike and Wallop. Just take away his time trick generation. I dig it. We add up to 6 cards on Zoe. She's getting there, man. She might flip in one of these games. It's not super strong, but it's not nothing. Thinking on it real hard, though. Real hard.
Are they still here?
Maybe he just disconnected. Said, oh shit. He said, Bust's coming at me with the elusives. I didn't know what emote to drop. I felt like emoting early. I pulled it back, so I'll just drop my phone in the toilet. That's your other option, right? Here it comes. Alright, a Scrying Sands. No toilet drop on the phone just yet. Feel about this. Let's send all that damage in. We gotta do something, right? Alright, not bad, not bad. Still look to get the Shade Stalker down this turn, so if we come into the next round, we just need the 6 mana for next turn, right? That would be the big thing, being able to Crescent Strike or Wallop away Echo. Might need to do a little blocking this turn. It's got 8 damage on board. You do have to realistically accept that Mystic Shot is a card. So let's go ahead and stop part of this. Kahiri. Kahiri was one of these cards that I always loved in Expedition, but he was just never quite good enough. He was just like a little bit short of landing in that promise zone of not being terrible. And it's just a bit too much of a high roll card, and the predict cards weren't quite good enough in Expedition yet. So feel bad for him a little bit. What all is this? Okay. It's like I saw the Absolver come down, and you say okay to that, but next it was the double damage thing. I think he played the double damage thing and then realized he hadn't flipped a champion, and so he couldn't put the Overwhelm down. All right, not bad though. Good job, Elusive friends. Getting the takedown. And on to the next one. The ladder climb resumes. The climb continues. And so one of the things I did think was kind of interesting as we were out here playing on our secondary account is that I take everything into consideration with my main account where we have all the cards and we have like 700, 800,000 gems. And so I really have it into my mind that like as we go and do battle in a daily rumble, that gem thing is just like irrelevant, right? Having 800,000 gems, and even with the 2,000 the 2,000 cost entry fee, like that's like 800,000 divided by 2,000. Y'all know I can't do this math, but it's like
I don't play.
that should be around like 400, right? We could play 400 of those events without even really recognizing any of the gem loss, and so I just don't even consider it on that account. But as we switch over to this one, it does feel much more relevant as I'm trying to grind out a new collection and not spend all the coins in the world just to get the cards I need to make a video. And you do have to kind of stop and remember that even though you might have played this game since the beta, or might have played it since the Rising Tides, or even if you've played it for like 6 months, we are trying to get new friends, new family out here to enjoy the game with us. And it's a very real cost in terms of it's a very real cost in terms of gems for people that just don't have the full collection, people that haven't played it since the beta. So it's been a bit of an eye opener. It's like that reason why I do like to kind of circle back and play some of these decks, like our friend Yasuo or the Elusives here, just given that sense that you might have missed something, or you might not have the right perspective or a different perspective on something. And it's very easy for me to forget that everybody in the world doesn't just have the massive collection from the beta.
Mama's home.
But back into the game here, going pretty reasonably well. I imagine that the Sea Monsters matchup should remain pretty good. I do want to spread out our stats here, given the sense if you stop to think of the removal that the opposing deck is going to bring at us, they're going to play they're going to play things like Vile Feast. They're going to play things like the Drain. They're going to maybe play Withering Wail, but those are all like 1 and 2 damage things, and then they play Vengeance. And so once we start to get our units over 1 health, then they're in a pretty safe space. And I don't want to worry too much about stacking on a single one. Like if this Lunari Shadestalker was a 5/6 instead of a 3/4, it's a much juicier Vengeance target than what we're presenting out here now. But things are going okay. I'm going to wallop away one of these life steals. We can block some of this other stuff. We do have to minorly consider that Atrocity is a card. And so I don't want to just freely take all of this damage, but shouldn't have to worry about it too much. Alright, so that will take him to 11. With the units that we had on board, that would only be 1 Heroic Refrain. That would have been pretty close to the lethal. We should be in decent shape here. Flight was a decent pickup.
Let's cook 'em.
And I don't think there's too much to gain out of playing a Wandering Shepherd. Like, this isn't a matchup to where I'm... Oh, fuck. Oh, we fucked that up. I meant to play the Heroic Refrain here so that we could present the lethal on attack. That's kind of a disaster. He might be losing this one now. Hopefully we're still in a safe enough space. We have a full board. We have a bunch of elusives, but we definitely needed to present the lethal here. What I was trying to say was I don't feel like this is the kind of space to where we have to open attack. We don't have to say, oh shit, he's got to have a slow spell that'll blow us up. If he starts like throwing away treasures, you might have to worry then. But typically, we could have played the Wandering Shepherd. I had in my head that we were going to present the lethal with the heroic refrain, and then as he played a Withering Wail or something, we were going to finish off the other units. But I got myself a little distracted. Hopefully we can still take this one down. He's got the full board, so he doesn't get the sapling. He needs like Nautilus and then a bunch of weird shit to try and get out of this one. So I think we're still safe, but a little sloppy, a little sloppy. Sometimes I get to talking, you know. Happens on occasion. Alright, so just something to let us block a fearsome is all I was looking for out of that. We have the one fearsome block with our elusives, but we don't really want to. Much rather send in these owlcats. Now we do have to mind the damage. I don't want to be in a space to where we fall below 13. Oh, snap. He's doing them mathematics. Alright, so let's see where that gets us. Maybe we recovered this one. Maybe this will be okay. Our best efforts at punting hopefully can be ignored. Alright, Mega Tusk is fine. So I think we're okay. We can play all the combat tricks. We have the lethal on attack, so we can't just skip the damage. Hopefully we're okay. How's he gonna get us? This only heals allies, it doesn't heal face. There we go. All right. Our best chance at punting wasn't enough.
That was super fun, and I gotta say,
Right. All right. Final battle. Let's jump on in. Called this deck Flying. Elusive and Magic is flying, but such a better name in this, such a better keyword. In Magic, you're now limited to actual flight. you can't just be real fast. You can't be real quick. You can't be a real shifty kind of character dodging stuff with your sweet moves. You got to have wings or a magic carpet or some kind of psychic power to lift you up in the air. I feel like that was... I wonder how much of a design mistake the makers of Magic and the designers of Magic would say using the name Flying is, as opposed to something more generic like Elusive or Deft. Quite interesting. But the final battle up against Heimerdinger Jace, this should be a fairly weak matchup. They have a lot of cards that can cause problems for us. Things like Vile Feast causing some trouble for our early elusives, but we'll see how it turns out. We need another friend. We need another early bro to get into battle here. Not amped about just dropping Teemo. Let's do this. Let's put the Lodestone in. So now we'll have the cheap sudden surge if we need it, and then next turn we can Teemo and put a Wandering Shepherd item onto him. And so if he hits Scout or whatever, then opponent has a second removal spell. We should be able to dodge the removal with the sudden surge.
2, 3, 4.
See if this goes as anticipated. For the most part, I'd say it did. So now that opponent is out of mana, do we ever want to pivot and say put the Shadestalker down? Like, it is, kind of fair to say that this matchup not that great. Maybe we should just be coming in here and trying to pick up Scout. And then if we got that double Scout hit in this turn, we got a very real chance of just ending the game right there. But the Shepherd's Hook is a pretty decent addition as well, giving Teemo +3/+2 now that he's a 4/3. He's probably never blocking anyways, but he survives Mystic shots and stuff now, so I think that's okay. We're doing it, right? We're doing it. We'll bring in the Lodestone, use that to give the old elusive to our Shadestalker. We're gonna be swinging big next turn. We're gonna just come in, start dropping battle bonds, right? He blocks us 100% of the time. Reggie's coming in here, so I'm not gonna play the spell preemptively. Can do it now. Get him down to 2. Now the downside to this deck, it's something that we've talked about, quite a bit here fairly recently since we've been playing things like Leona Kale and playing things like Noxus Tristana. It's that those decks are all looking to finish off a game with might. And the problem with might is you have to like physically have the unit on the board, to whereas if we had the opponent just sitting at 2, you have those opportunities to kill them with Mystic Shots or Nox and Fervors or Decimates. And I think it's kind of interesting that we dropped him down to 2, and it just feels like the game is still pretty far out of reach. I know he just did gain 5 off a Piercing Light. That certainly helps their cause quite a bit, but it's interesting how the things there change. I prefer the burn route as opposed to the might route, but all right, so what are we doing here? We can get Teemo down. The second Floor Begone is a real pain, given that we have kind of got ourselves to this space to where we can try and deliver the final blow with a Harazi onto an elusive, but with him having 2 elusives on the board, can't really get ourselves into that play. Lodestone just has battle bonds. I'm just going to wait and see if we can't pick up a Wallop. If we hit a Wallop and we can stun one of these out of the way, maybe that's a way to do it. The other option there, I guess, we could have tried to drop Harazi onto the board. But maybe that would have been the way to do it. I don't remember if we had the mana. We would have been 1 mana short, right, of trying to put the Shepherd's thing onto the Wandering Shepherd. That brings the Lodestone into hand, and then playing the Harazi out of hand from the Lodestone. Couldn't quite do that. Oh, he's got a blocker now. I was like, did we just accidentally hit lethal? Not quite, not quite. So he's got to block everything, right? What if we do this? To where our elusive... so we're assuming that he has to block everything, right? He probably doesn't want to just go to 1 from the Wandering Shepherd. Maybe he's okay with that. Maybe he's okay with the risk of dying to a combat trick. But I think that this leaves us in a space to where we get to kill his elusives and then still have an elusive behind. That's, I think, going to be our best chance of taking this one down. Still don't feel great about it, right? I don't think we're in a good space by any stretch of the means, but gives us that chance. Uh-oh, this is gonna be nasty. It's gonna be Brood Awakening with the Floor Begone. Okay, we'll give it up there. All right, GG. Not a bad set of games, and I feel like that went pretty well in terms of the elusives. Again, we talked about that space to where this deck is going to be good. We don't want to be playing against things like Annie Jin. We don't want to be playing against things like Pirates. Those matchups are bad. On the flip side, we don't want to play against these really slow control decks. We don't want to play against Heimerdinger Jace. We don't want to play against Annie Ezreal Katarina, whatever flavor of that deck is running around. We don't want to play against the Lord Broadmain style of decks. Those are all decks that can cause us problems, but everything in between there, we have a pretty good game against. And again, this is a deck that's kind of surprising to me. I think that path makes a bit of sense that I talked about at the beginning, as to where the sudden surge got dropped to a 4/4 right before Aatrox Kayn like really took off, and then with Kayn taking off being that 5 toughness challenger, and then him now not having to worry about dying to sudden surges, that feels like it could have made a real world of difference, as the best deck in the meta now dodges your best way to stop it. But it's taken us a bit of time to actually kick back around and come back to being relevant, and so very interesting there. And so I think this probably has a space in this meta. It's certainly a reasonable idea. As a best of 3 lineup, we've been talking about this idea here recently, as to where this is a format that kind of really pushes to playing balanced lineups. There's not 3 really good aggro decks to play. There's not 3 really good control decks to play. The control decks do tend to just get murdered by Rise, and I think that kind of pushes you towards just playing the 3 best decks in the format, which tends to lead you towards a more balanced lineup, or a good decks kind of lineup. And when you're not particularly stacked on a single strategy, this does let you just ban out the most powerful control deck, or the most powerful aggro deck that they have, and you should hopefully have a couple of good matchups left over. And so I think that's kind of an interesting consideration for Teemo Zoe here, as we start to approach that final seasonal tournament, whatever we're calling this last thing. We have the new best of 3 formats coming up here soon within the daily rumbles, and Teemo Zoe most certainly should be a consideration into the lineups that you're bringing. And I think, especially as I'm coming out and trying to design lineups, I love to play on the aggro end of the spectrum, but I don't love bringing 3 Legion Rearguard decks. And so I think being able to kind of diversify out into something like Teemo Zoe is a very realistically strong possibility. And so good stuff there. I think this probably has a good future for it, a good set of matchups and everything coming for it. In terms of this deck list itself, I was pretty happy with everything outside of the heroic refrains. I feel like in the more games we played, I would have preferred the heroic refrains to be stand togethers, or we stand togethers, whatever the flip one is, the +1/+2 instead of the +2/+1. I think I would have felt a little bit better there. And I could see cutting like 1 copy of the Flight. I've never been particularly pleased with the Flight, and so getting a removal there wouldn't feel terrible to me. But otherwise, love it. Good stuff here. I think it's definitely a meta contender. And so that is going to do it for us today. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way. Had a good time watching. This is Bustin' Me. Thank you for being here.